the 19th of May, 2022. Thanks for tuning in to my official YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel, like my official YouTube videos, as well as make sure to go to my website, www.susanbeling.com. Also, it's known as www.ladydorybell.com, because I have been known by both names and I haven't ever hidden that. So, okay, so I'm gonna start off with a forewarning that this will be a smidgen satirical-ish, kind of comedic-ish, depending on, and apropos type of outfit for this, because constitutional rights. So, you know, a little symbolism, little symbolic stuff here and there. I'm starting it out that way, just for the forewarning, all right? So, I've dealt with which some people have heard of this institution called high school, okay? And so in this institution called high school, I was transferred because my biological mother and biological father and biological sister wanted to move out of the state of New Jersey, mainly my biological mother and biological father, to Illinois, not Chicago. Born and raised in New Jersey, born and raised going throughout the whole tri-state area, not Chicago, Illinois. No, because that would make sense to that transitioning. No. From New Jersey, going to the 5 boroughs, as well as New York State, going to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, as well as Pennsylvania areas otherwhere. Not to Chicago, not even within an hour of Chicago. No, 3.5, 4 hours away from Chicago. Yeah, to a small town that had a population of 10,000 people, and my biological mother had grown up in that area. That is all you need to know for those who have met my biological mother. So that's a smidgen of an example for one particular area type of, and my biological mother then is all, oh, well, you know, you need to have female friends. So go be on the cheerleading squad, where you have never been a cheerleader before at all in your entire life, where you grew up playing with males and going to the garage and stuff like that, instead of being with people that would be akin to you. Go be a cheerleader, so that way you can have female friends. That's my biological mother's rose-colored glasses of thoughts. My biological father, listening to her, is like, yes, because then as a cheerleader, you will not hang out with males as much. Yeah, just think about that in reference to this lecture. Yeah, because what males would a cheerleader ever be around other than football players and basketball players? What? It's kind of how that goes, I'm fairly certain. So, you know, okay. So I didn't want to be on the cheerleading squad at all. I kind of had my life goal plans. I was still upset because of Marine and Science Technology School, to the point of where in 2009, I put myself through 26 scuba diving certifications that I earned on my own. I can acknowledge at times I can hold a bit of a grudge if I am upset about something. And that's after I woke up from my coma after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. I could be a smidgen stubborn. I could be a smidgen determined. here and there, I mean, it was just in 1996 that I was supposed to attend because of my invitation and my tests and essays and interviews in regards of marine and science technology school, that my biological mother and biological father had their opinion as far as the military was concerned. Despite going to Old Tennant Presbyterian Church, where General George Washington's private office was out back, and the church was used as a hospital during the Revolutionary War. Aside from that, they had a problem with the military. So I was a smidgen upset, a little bit, and I was a smidgen determined to do things my way. And so I was determined to go in the military. So I went in the Army. I graduated early so I could go in the Army, and then I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, and I woke up in the state of Texas. Now, I'm gonna pause real quick on that and rewind to that, cheerleader situation. So I hadn't ever been a cheerleader before. Didn't really hang out with many females. I was on the track and field team in regards of St. John Vianney High School in New Jersey, as well as in Marlboro Middle School in comparison. So that was like the only females that I'd really been around. Each female knew what their strengths were. Some were upset about like the aspects because I was a floater, or the more common term is a ringer. So, if we went against certain schools and a little boost needed, you call in the ringer. But we would use the term floater because I could float from one spot to another real easy and take care of stuff. And then, I did shot put, I did discus, my main things were high jump because there weren't really anybody else. There was long jump, there was the 100 meter dash, the 200 meter dash, the 400 meter dash, the 400 meter relay, the 110 hurdles, the 210 hurdles, and the 410 hurdles, or whatever it is. So yeah, those were my main areas. If there was any assistance needed here and there. So in Illinois, though, I didn't get on the track team because I needed to get my education taken care of. I needed to get myself to graduate because while some people didn't know, or maybe they did know in regards of my nightmare from when I was in second grade, I was extremely determined to get myself to where I needed to be capable to assist to the best of possibilities. And so instead of going on the track team in Illinois, it was, I have this to do. I have to get this educational stuff taken care of because it's extremely important. I'm about life in comparison. So there's the cheerleading squad, and you had Crystal Cook, Joy Hoover, and Tiffany Aswani as the captain and co-captains. And in regards of Crystal, I didn't really have too many issues except for when she was around Joy Hoover and Tiffany Aswani. As long as she wasn't around them, I really didn't have that much of an issue with her, to be honest. Though Joy Hoover or Tiffany, I could tolerate Tiffany Aswani when she wasn't around Joy Hoover. I could tolerate Crystal Cook and Tiffany Aswani together as long as Joy Hoover wasn't around. The second Joy Hoover came around, I just couldn't stand her. There was just nothing about her that I really liked. I really just, I didn't mind them individually, but yeah. And I'm sure anybody who's met Joy Hoover, you understand as far as that's concerned. And so I just really didn't have that patience. And so in the football season of cheerleading, the JV squad knowing that I was born and raised in New Jersey, and the entire Crystal Lake South school, mind you, in their own whatevers were doing as they were, because they claimed to know how people are from New Jersey. That's how they would tell me that I know how people are from New Jersey, which didn't make any sense to me whatsoever, at all, in any capacity. And so while I just was working on getting myself taken care of, getting myself to where I needed to be, I was dealing with an entire school in random ways where I know how people are from New Jersey. I actually had someone, so I was carrying my books, and it was after one of the special needs individuals had run up, given me a hug, and it was one of those, yeah, here you go. And this was after he learned that I had kept peppermints with me. And so not only did I treat him kindly, but also candy. And so it was. And his chaperone knew as well, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And so after a point in time, after, spending a little bit of time with him, and then they went on to his next class, I had my books in my arms, and I went walking to the hallway that I needed to get to, and I literally had someone walk up to me and smack my books out of my hands, which I did what I could to remain calm, because, well, there are people who know how some people are. And so they did not know about Taekwondo. And so, most specifically, I understood at that moment why my biological father would not allow me to get my black belt. I understood that at that very moment. And it was because of I know how people are from New Jersey sort of thing. So this whatever slapped the books out of my hands. I stood there and I was just like, and so you're gonna pick that up right now. And the male tried to, and it was a male who did this, mind you. I know how people are from New Jersey. Drop to your knees and pick up my books and hand them to me now. This male tried to, I'm so-and-so and whatever of whatever. My books are still on the floor. Pick them up. And so he continued to try while he had some of these males with him. My books are still right there. Pick them up. And so after a couple more of whatever this sort of stuff, didn't matter, and this is the irony, because there's this reference of Excalibur Fair for those who understand. So I had about 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, as far as males, that were standing around that were a part of this. And I stood there, and there are my books. Pick them up. And so the male went, this is a very, I really am glad I didn't, but so went to go do the equivalent of what Tony Ann regarding the St. John Vianney High School bus ride as far as poking me, and I just grabbed his hand and did that. And so all of a sudden he was on his knees right in front of me. And, for those who understand that. And so I was holding his hand like this, but for those who need that understanding, I had it like this. And so, just had it there, and it's like, so you can pick up my books right about now, thanks. And so while he was saying, ow, 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 which is an irony regarding Temple of Flesh and Steve, this guy was going, ow, 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 and then he was reaching for my books to hand me my books one at a time. And so after I had my books in my hand, as I had, his other hand, I said, well, thank you, good boy. And then walked around and went on my way to class. Looking back now in the year of 2022, I realized that was the last day that I ever had anybody in Crystal Lake South who had ever said, "I know how people are from New Jersey," that way. That was the that was the last time that happened, and so that was in football season. Yeah. Which is what it is, because my feet were on the ground. So anyway, only a couple weeks later was there the pit situation where, again, irony of irony, Joy Hoover, her boyfriend, had started a fight in that particular area, and then I defended myself and AJ, and then after I knocked Joy Hoover's boyfriend on the ground, essentially out. Well, I again picked up my book bag from that point in time, because I had my book bag on my back before, and then, went on my way. I understand why I didn't get that black belt. That's okay. But there's no law that says that I had to explain that I got second and third place in sparring and form in an international competition less than 2.5 years before then. Or less than 2 years before then. So I didn't have to legally say that. So, And in comparison to now, 2022, I'm older, so, it's not the same. I was a green belt then. So, so they didn't do that. And so afterwards, as far as, didn't deal with certain things in a certain way. So then one day, I get back from the cheerleading situation regarding homecoming, and the tree in the front yard of the house in Illinois was toilet paper. And when I pulled up, Mike, those who know my biological father, was standing there with Dale Horowitz, for those who know him. And whatever they were discussing, and I walk up and I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna suck." And so explained what occurred, told Mike that I didn't want to be a part of it, told him that Anna did all this sort of stuff regarding the cheerleading stuff. And so the following week of school, when I went to practice, I was a smidgen upset, because those who've met Mike. And so when I walked in to the gym stadium, apparently it was their issue in regards to how they earned second place out of 2 teams. Yeah, how their score was 3.2 compared to the 6.9 of the first place team that got the 6.9. They were upset that they had only gotten a 3.2 to get second place out of 2 teams, even though I warned them what they shouldn't do, but it was as it was. So that following weekend, Monday timeframe, I was doing what I could to remain calm. And so I pushed the doors open to the gym. They kind of bounced. I was a little upset. And so then they were lectured in a much different capacity than this. And they were apparently upset because apparently I had a bellowing voice. Apparently I could be a little loud, and they got my opinion of what they thought was funny in comparison, and so they didn't think about the repercussions of their choices. And so I informed them of my opinion without any filter. Remember, I was only in Illinois for less than a full year at that point in time. Yeah, regarding that homecoming situation. So I had moved out around April or May of 1998. So whenever homecoming is in regards of that month in 1998, that's how much time I had been out in New Jersey as a teenager. So they had my opinion. This is why I don't have sympathy for some people, especially those over the years who had complained about what they thought was not a filter. And I had informed them that it was very much a filter. I knew it was a filter. Yeah. They didn't seem to believe me, and I know my life, so. I know my experiences, and I know that I had a filter in the state of Texas. So it's called my headaches and migraines. Because I didn't deal with headaches and migraines when I yelled at them. So, you know. And so I didn't deal with headaches and migraines then. And so they got yelled at. It was as it was. So there are those who've been around when I've sang the national anthem before. And so I deal with headaches and migraines in comparison, and I enjoy singing the national anthem. So there is that in comparison to when I was enraged and infuriated. So since I've brought it up, I might as well. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, save us that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. So, in comparison to actually enjoying something like that, those people got informed that I was in a bad mood. Instead. So there are those that more recently with my updates regarding my journal blog, The Ornery PSA, on my website, www.susanmealing.com, who have been made aware, if you've read that, regarding my childhood and my teenage years. So there was this situation one day, these door-to-door salesmen had shown up to the house in Illinois. Now, there was a lot of stuff that was already occurring. Remember, my biological father and biological mother have already dealt with regarding after my invitation to Marine and Science Technology School with the Navy attachment. And then you have all these other situations, which I could obviously not be the only person, especially when it comes to Mike, as far as, oh, I know how people are from New Jersey, as far as that's concerned. And so Dale Horowitz and I were sitting on the front porch as these guys who looked similar to whatever as far as certain other factors, because there is whatever it is that I wouldn't officially know. And on top of that, of whatever possibilities up. So my biological father's response was to pick up 2 machetes and use these machetes to trim the hedges of the bushes. So while Dale Horowitz looked over, irony of ironies of the last name, in horror at my biological father swinging machetes to trim the hedges, I just lit another cigarette. Because, you know, whatever. I survived. Right. So Dale looked over at me and he was like, Susan, do you see what your dad is doing? Uh-huh. Yeah, I do. Yep. So what? What's the big deal? And I wasn't laughing, mind you, at the time. 1999, I think it was. Maybe 1998. No, it was 1998. And so, I just look over at Dale and I'm like, what's your problem? And he was like, Susan, your dad is using the, how do you not see that? No, I see. Yeah, no, that's, uh-huh. What? I am not capable to understand what's wrong. What's the big deal? I mean, what do you use to trim hedges? What's wrong with you? And his response was, there's this thing called a hedge trimmer. Yeah, okay, that stays. I don't know what that translates to. I don't care. I don't see a big deal. Why is it a big deal that Mike is using 2 machetes? Why? He has a black belt 3rd degree by a, Korean master, so, he's probably learned how to use some weapons, so, whatever. And so, with this knowledge, okay, so my biological father, when I was fighting to go to the Army later in 1999, my biological father tried convincing me about college and, don't go to college to get your MRS, actually earn your education, and me telling him, I don't think I'm the one you need to actually speak with on that. You might want to talk to my biological little sister in comparison to me, because I've got my career path, I've got this, I've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G ready to go, squared away. I got work to do. Got stuff to accomplish, I got places to go, take care of stuff of whatever. So fast forward to the year of 2009, and so I earned 26 scuba diving certifications. My biological father was living in the state of Texas. Yeah. Sure, I was living in Carrollton, Texas at the time, and he was living in San Antonio, Texas. However, he was still within the state of Texas, and I know about airplanes. So, Sure, there are cars, there's still airplanes. And so I, in that, knowledge. Well, so if I was ever being flirted with or anything like that regarding any scuba diver of whichever type, it wouldn't matter if it was a military scuba diver, it wouldn't matter if it was a law enforcement scuba diver, it wouldn't matter if it was a fire department scuba diver, it wouldn't matter if it was an EMS scuba diver, and it wouldn't matter if it was a civilian recreational scuba diving, whatever, scuba diver. My biological father lived in the state of Texas when I was in the process of earning 26 scuba diving certifications. That's nice if I was being flirted with at any point in time. That's nice. Additionally, in this additional capacity, when I was going through the Dominant Mentor program, I was getting an education. And I was in a closer vicinity to San Antonio, Texas when I started the class portion in Austin. I grew up with Mike as my biological father. And I remembered the hedge situation. So, so I was going to get my education. I wasn't looking for an MRS. I, was taking care of what I needed to be educated, because because there are people and they might meet my biological father. I grew up with that. They moved from Illinois to Texas. Yeah, no. There were these people in Texas that I met that tried to tell me that they thought that I could think of happier memories from my childhood. That's what they told me they thought. I mean, I guess it depends on what your definition of happiness is. However, in regards of my viewpoint, well, just think of however many years old I was. And that was my childhood and my teenage years. So, But these people in Texas tried to tell me that they thought that I could think of happier memories that I could remember. So I remembered, that machete situation. And I, put into writing more of, stuff I remember that I really didn't discuss, because, if you couldn't handle that, why would I think you could handle that? It's common sense. So then, in 2009, I earned 26 scuba diving certifications. And so I dealt with in Illinois the equivalent of what I dealt with as a teenager and a child in New Jersey, more so, as well as certain areas of the 5 boroughs, definitely in Staten Island and Long Island areas, and certain references to these types in Illinois that complained because their parents bought them a brand new BMW and didn't get them a brand new Mercedes-Benz. And their way to throw a temper tantrum was to complain about having gotten a brand new BMW or Mercedes instead of a Mercedes-Benz. And then they were upset that I didn't have sympathy for them. Again, there's that bushes situation with the hedges. And so I kind of, didn't really care about what some of these people in high school, their opinion was, because those hedges were in the house area property of where I was living at that time. So, let me think about this. High school teenagers' opinions of me compared to the amount of hours in a house with an individual who, that was the response. So, high school opinions, life. I'm gonna go with life being more important than these high schoolers' opinions of me. Seems common sense to me. Is what it is. So throughout the time frame after cheerleading, I dealt with mainly some of the cheerleaders and the pommies being the way they were, as anybody would know from Crystal Lake South and or anyone that learned. And I just didn't have patience for them. No matter what they wanted to try, I just didn't care. I had things that I needed to take care of that were more important than their feelings. That's really what it boiled down to. And so it really was that. So in scuba diving, I earned 26 scuba diving certifications, and I landed at the bottom of various areas of water. I took care of what I took care of. I handled things the way I needed to handle them. It was as it was. It was already known what I was dealing with regarding McCoy Elementary School and then those factors. And my son and my daughter, in reference to those situations, well, 2009 is before 2010. I didn't attend my high school graduation regarding Crystal Lake South. I graduated in January, so bye, I was gone. I was out of the state of Illinois in March of 2000. I was gone. And so I was in basic training. Bye, I'm gone. I got stuff I gotta go take care of. I need to go, because I had a nightmare when I was in second grade. A bunch of people haven't believed me. There are so many of these other situations that at some point, all of these whatevers, these coinky dinks are gonna show to this pattern of whatever, and at some point I'm gonna be vindicated. My name is gonna be clear, and I'm gonna be capable to actually just, here it is. This is what it is. But I will be clear and people will believe. And so these high school drama types throughout 1998 into 1999 and the beginning of 2000, I just dealt with this amount of needless drama from mainly these females. Certain males associated with these females, but just as it was, the biological aspect. And it wasn't an interest to me. I had stuff I had to take care of. I knew the buildings that were in the references of that I was needing to take care of where I could. And so by the time of 2009, I have learned my biological mother, biological father, and biological sister have gone back to the East Coast multiple times. Could have invited me to go, made the choices that they made. Knew about the after effects of my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, and instead made the choices that they made. I didn't attend the graduation, whiny, temper tantrum, teenager garbage. My biological sister went to high school with whoever of whatever, and whatever that needless drama is whatever that needless drama is compared to me. So I attend the high school graduation because I had stuff to do. It's just facts. There was more important things that needed to be taken care of. I'm sure there are those who have learned of this, especially when it comes to high school. And so those individuals had their opinions and their feelings and whatever, and it didn't matter to me about their feelings because I had stuff to take care of. So in the year of 2009, I was asked, in reference to my biological mother, asking me if I was going to go to the high school graduation reunion. for Crystal Lake South? And I said, absolutely not. My son and my daughter actually need me. It's the facts. Their biological father died only a little over a year before. Their biological father's father, or their Grandpa Nichols, died literally less than a full year before, and they were much closer with Grandpa Nichols than they were their biological father. No, I don't care about a high school graduation reunion compared to what's best for my son and my daughter. Nope. No need, no concern, don't care, nothing of importance whatsoever. Absolutely not. I was asked this around the time frame of April 2009. Don't care means nothing at all compared to my son and my daughter. Those people, nope, in comparison, I have more important things to do than be around those people. I still have to go back out to the East Coast. I am not going to disrespect where I was born and raised by, spending a large length of time in that area. I will not ever spend an overnight time frame in that state unless I have certain what have yous met and I have to go out to New Jersey and New York City and the areas before I will ever take those people into consideration. Not to be rude, but absolutely not. My son and my daughter are always going to be more important than people from Illinois. That's just the facts. And then, where I was born and raised, I have stuff to take care of. That's the facts. So, I have people that I gotta make sure are actually taken care of to the best of my capability. No, I don't care about a high school reunion at all. Well, then there's June of 2009 regarding Cozumel and taking care of those factors. Then there's August of 2009 in regards of the Atlantic area and those situations. And I go and take care of my daughter and my son as best as I can. I do the best I can. And in reference to Cozumel, that was my last scuba diving certification that I had planned for myself. The cavern scuba diving certification was just a added bonus that I decided to do afterwards when seeing some gear. And so it was as it was, but I wasn't willing to be an irresponsible scuba diver. And that's the facts. So it was as it was, and but I wasn't willing to deal with certain things. So I was asked again, mind you, before school began for my son and my daughter at McCoy Elementary School, in reference to from my biological mother and biological father and biological sister, and I informed them no. Because no, my son and my daughter are more important. It's the facts. What they need is more important than other people's feelings about themselves. It's the facts. So then I took care of as I took care of as best as I could, and then went on my way because the situations went as they did. So there was a point in time where my daughter, after the Fort Worth Zoo, was in the hospital, and there was a point in reference where my son went with my ex-sister-in-law to Albuquerque or something in Texas or wherever. I thought it was in Arizona, whatever it was as far as a painting was concerned regarding my dead ex-husband and that. And again, in reference to my biological mother asking, after that initially began, in reference to my daughter being hospitalized, my son being scheduled to go with my ex-in-laws out to this painting ceremony. Again, I was asked by my biological mother, biological father, and biological sister if I was going to go to the high school reunion, and I said no. after I defended myself in regards to the corona situation and a few other factors. And so, whatever correlation regarding timeline. And I said, no, I'm not going. My biological mother tried to claim, well, your daughter's in a hospital right now, so you don't have to worry. No, I do, because I'm actually a mom, unlike, I actually care about my children, unlike, so I'm gonna actually go and take care of stuff in the responsible way in comparison. Unlike certain types. And so if there just so happen to be any needless problems regarding that, well, hopefully the merger on the 6th of June, 2022 will assist with that. Because how arrogant would you have to be to have an issue regarding so-called whatever after certain choices of free will? So I could have graduated basic training if I didn't have a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. I could have graduated AIT if I graduated basic training. And I could have graduated Marine and Science Technology School if I had actually attended, just as I could have gone into the graduation ceremony of St. John Vianney High School if I had finished school out there. But because of the way those needless problems were, the situations where I was going to graduate early, I was going to go on my own way, and I was going to handle my life my way. Because I didn't want to deal with that needless drama. They got to attend my middle school graduation ceremony. That should have been good enough. Because they had the capacities in reference to Marine and Science Technology School, where that would have been another graduation. It's not as though I even had a party in regards of my middle school graduation. I didn't have a party. I went to parties, but I didn't have one. My biological parents didn't have that. Same thing in regards to my confirmation graduation. That didn't occur. They only wanted to attend events so the only reason why they wanted the graduation was so they could go to a party. That was it. It wasn't ever because I did something worthwhile. They wanted notoriety that they didn't earn at all. So they could have had that when I would have graduated Marine and Science Technology School with the Navy attachment, but my biological mother and biological father looked down on the military. They could have had the graduation and those aspects if I had graduated St. John Vianney High School, but I was going to graduate a year early, and so they wanted whatever as far as whoever in those references. And so by the time in reference of Crystal Lake South, I didn't like anybody. There were few that I did, but I had stuff to do. I took my life seriously, unlike. And so, I refused to move back to Illinois. They tried to get me to move back, and I wasn't interested in at all. It was, I will go for a few holiday whatever, and that's it. Not interested. I have stuff that I have to do. So their wishful whatever stuff that I'm gonna guesstimate they did no differently in Illinois as Texas as New Jersey, the facts of. So it is as it is. So, I can laugh at certain situations. But then there's the facts of Joy Hoover. Well, I didn't get along with her. My biological mother probably would have, in quite a few ways, in comparison. I didn't get along with anybody on the cheerleading squad except for Melody, Michelle, and Kelly. That's it. The rest of the cheerleading squad, yeah, to a degree, but that was the facts. So my biological mother, of course, would wish for certain aspects in comparison to having to accept the fact in those references. In comparison. So then there's, remember, the cheerleading and the Miss Crystal Lake pageant that I wasn't interested in. What is the stereotype regarding certain factors? So I wasn't interested in certain factors. And I wasn't willing to deal with certain things. And so in those references regarding my scuba diving, that is my work. So I didn't start officially regarding work in that regard in the state of Texas. I didn't start that work in that regard in the state of Wisconsin, because it wouldn't be through Illinois except for by proxy because of the Ridgefield Crystal Lake Presbyterian Church in comparison. Started in New Jersey, off of the Jersey Shore, not any other area. So there's a big difference between those factors. And some of those overzealous types in that hypothetical, well, just as similarly as I couldn't wait for the Robin Hood play to be over, I couldn't wait to get out of Illinois. So, in reference to the high school reunion that I wasn't interested in attending because my son and my daughter needed me as their mom. That's the facts. Wasn't willing to get on an airplane at all at that time because I knew myself. There are only 2 times, especially in reference to scuba diving, that there are references regarding that. So, when going from DFW to Cozumel and back, the individual who was my roommate at the time knows how I didn't handle that very well. The same thing in regards to when I flew out of DFW to Orlando and back, especially in regards of that. So, no, I wasn't interested when it came to Illinois. I wasn't going to get on an airplane. I wasn't going to drive out there. I had other locations that have more significance to me. And while I can be glad that there are people who are alive, the facts, because as many people in Illinois said, I know how people are in New Jersey. Well, if I had to explain homage, honor, and respect, probably not then. Then, if you take a look at Crystal Lake South High School, the class graduation regarding the year of 2000, compare it to the overall demographic of the 5 boroughs in New York City and the overall demographic of the state of New Jersey, the overall demographic of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia mainly, with the rest of the state of Pennsylvania, there is a large distinctive difference. So the after effects of my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, I had dealt with a bunch of people who were upset because they thought that they were more memorable looking physically. And they felt that because of whatever length of time in a class or whatever activity, that in comparison to the amount of time in the tri-state area, they thought in Crystal Lake South that they were that much more distinctive looking, and that I should remember who and how they are in the comparison. So I dealt with these people in Illinois during the year of 2001, especially, and 2002, that I can distinctly remember, who brought up multiple times in 2001 regarding the week that I had spent in Illinois, and in 2002, the 2 weeks where there were a bunch of people who had tried to get my attention and were upset because I didn't recognize them. And they had a problem in regards with the after effects of my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. They had problems with that. They could have just spoken with me with etiquette and respect and informed me in comparison to their temper tantrums as to being upset and, how dare you not remember me? How can't you recognize who I am? Look at this and look at that. And compared to where I was born and raised, that they were upset by that. And so maybe there's someone who understands why I had a difficulty distinguishing the physical differences between people in Crystal Lake South High School, with the exception of very few people, compared to the tri-state area. Maybe. Somebody somewhere could. I dealt with that in different areas of the state of Texas, and usually some of the people had certain similar attributes, those references. So those who know Erica or Discordia, well, thinking back now in the year 2022 to the year 2012, when she had acknowledged that situation, while she was dating a guy named Brian, which is an irony, because in 2005, when I was at the gyms on Marbach and 410, a San Antonio police officer named Brian thought it would be a funny joke to see what handcuffs looked as. Mind you, this was after Excalibur Fair by only a couple of months. And then when I told him that he needed to get the cuffs off of me because I did nothing wrong, he then tried to claim that he thought that I was overreacting to him as a uniformed San Antonio police officer without a warrant, without any cause, without any reason, and without any excuse to put handcuffs on me. And then as I did what I could to remove the handcuffs from my wrists, when he realized that I wasn't going to calm down because I was about to break the chain, because he spent the money he spent on them, he got the key and took them off. The rest of the people that were in that gyms looked at Brian in that San Antonio Police Department uniform in horror. He was also in the Air Force at Lackland Air Force Base at the same time. And his wife at the time, mother of his son, he was upset that she had gotten involved in a relationship with someone else. And so, Anyway, so Erica, also known as Discordia, kind of looked similar in regards to that male named Brian, not fully, but to a degree, compared to Erica, who kind of looked like a combination of Valerie Morrison and Joy Hoover regarding her physical attributes. In regards of that garage situation at Erica's house in San Antonio, where she had acknowledged that for years, since 2004, since the year 2004, so the year that I initially got involved officially in the what is supposed to be consenting adult lifestyle, year 2004, she had met me in San Antonio at the same event or it was the event before, regarding Thomas Marsden's grandfather and mother getting a phone call because of that time frame. Erica, also known as Discordia, had informed me that she felt jealous because people were talking with me in comparison to talking at me in regards of asking opinions, which I had informed her it's not my fault that they talked at you in comparison to with you. And so she had acknowledged to stirring up a bunch of needless drama since the year 2004. And then, after I had, similarly to the Monday after the toilet paper regarding the tree in the front yard, with not as loud probably because of dealing with headaches and migraines, and it was the year 2012, which would be 3 years after my scuba diving and 1 year after, ish, regarding Irving in 2011. She was informed of my opinion. Similarly, as to my disagreement as to any needless problems. And then she was upset because she wanted to let me know that after all of the needless drama that she stirred up, that all of a sudden she liked me and she was interested in being friends. From 2004 through 2012, all the stuff, whatever drama, essentially, and the specifics to what is supposed to be the consenting adult lifestyle, those factors. So, just for individuals in various areas of the state of Texas, supposed to be consenting adult lifestyle community. So she had even gone to the apartment complex in Irving. If I remember correctly, I can't remember why, though I do know she did. So there's that. That was, after the U-Haul situation regarding my scuba dive gear. Those factors as well. And so, but why, when earning my 26 scuba diving certifications, was I not interested in any relationship until I finished earning my scheduled certifications for myself? With, that Hedges situation. Why didn't I? So like, if there were males who could have been flirting with me in scuba, I was informed of one who said he was. Well, it was not that was not the time. I was in the process of clearing out some stuff. So, it just, I had to maintain my focus. So, so I maintained my focus. And then, sure, I think it was the last night that we were there was when, whatever, and it just so happened to be the same day he caught, or the night before, so 2 nights before, that was when it was. 2 nights before the last, or 2 nights before we flew back from Cozumel to DFW, it was, now that I can almost relax and also have to save your life from the poofy fish that you caught, now that's fine, I suppose. I can take a consideration of possibly being involved with a scuba diver in a possibility of a relationship-ish sort of possibility. I don't know. And so I was informed years later that there was flirting that was occurring, and I didn't pick up on it at all. Also, what I consider flirting would not be that. So there is a difference of opinion regarding that, because flirting to me is definitely not causing needless problems. No, that's not flirting. No. I don't know who taught people that's considered flirting. I'm just saying. My personal opinion, though I've also dealt with a few situations, so I'm kind of particular. Nonetheless, regards of Dominant Mentor Program, while I was in a relationship with an individual, technically both times in the initial contact out to, as well as when beginning, though then there were other situations that occurred needlessly. And so, that's as that was during those times. And so the irony to the New Year situation in graduation to the reunion time of 2010, well then there's 2011 as far as however that went, and then 2012. And so, I just was moved from New Jersey to an area of Illinois where people had complained that their mommy and daddy bought them a brand new BMW in comparison to buying them a brand new Mercedes. For that demographic to take in consideration regarding some of the people I had been around. So while some people in the state of Texas might need to take that in consideration regarding that. So while I dealt with people in Texas who were like, I know how people are from New Jersey. Do you know how people are from Illinois? Because I know in the year 2012, there was a situation regarding a male, a group of males actually, several males. There were 4 males at that midnight rodeo They all had polo shirt-ish, well, two of them did, and that tank top that I was wearing, the silver tank top, I think it went to here, and as a sweetheart cut, silver tank top for clarifications for that particular situation throughout that entire evening. And so, shortly after that, the Marine aspects, that there were, so Alicia, remember Discordia's friend, or Erica's friend, she and I went to the Midnight Rodeo. In one evening, there was a situation where she decided to inform everybody in the smoking section, similarly to the way my biological sister had been, about my buckgung and my buck poo. So similarly to that, for Asher Holmes Elementary School references and Illinois references, Alicia, Erica, or Discordia's friend or whatever, had went around Midnight Rodeo and informing them as to me being there. And so then there was this male who had decided to, try to strong arm or whatever, and, I'm just a biological female, that's all. And so this male, decided that he wanted to whatever. So then the bouncers had to pull him away because of how Alicia continued to egg that on needlessly. And then there was a situation when she went inside to go get more alcohol. This is before I learned her biological father is a Mustang from the Korean War. So then there's that situation. And so when I was speaking with a guy who had said that I looked familiar from someone at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and went to go speak with him because he had asked me about someone that I had remembered, because I had a vision when I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And this occurred the night before a lecture in the classroom. So it was whatever day, I don't know specifically. So when in the classroom, Drill Sergeant Parsley had gone over certain things, and I had an actual vision of seeing a guy who had pulled a grenade pin and put it in a drill sergeant's BDU. And the drill sergeant just grabbed the guy and had it went that way, and I had informed Drill Sergeant Parsley of my opinion as far as that was concerned regarding the time frame of. And so it was as it was. So fast forward to San Antonio, I had informed Medical Hold Unit about that situation when I was there in the year 2000 after waking up from my coma. And so there's that. Then there's the way that particular situation was with Alicia. And so after speaking with the male briefly that looked like the male who had buffed the floors in reference to the Bay Area that I had been in before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, he looked like the male who had everybody take their boots off before going in because he buffed the floor. Did the work, so didn't want to do any extra work. And so when Alicia had walked up, he had went off on a different area. And then the situation with the 4 males, and one that, had let me know that if I was offended, I could slap him. So I did. Then Alicia laughed, and my response was, well, you know, if your attempt was to offend me and then I got offended and then I slapped you, then why are you upset and why are you shocked? Whose fault is that? You have no right to be upset if you went to go and upset me because of a temper tantrum. Because if you didn't realize that I could defend myself, that's on you. That's your fault instead. So, it's just the facts. I grew up a certain way. I didn't have the luxuries certain people have. So, you know, those types who have had those types of luxuries, well, cool, lucky you. What is that? I have no idea what it is to have luxuries like that. I've had to work for everything. So, you know, is as it is. But there was a JV cheerleader after the situations regarding the homecoming, and I was working at IHOP, and her boyfriend Adam was friends with a guy at Prairie Ridge, and they had showed up to IHOP when I was working. And Matt Dombrow had, from Prairie Ridge High School, supposedly had a whatever, as far as a crush or whatever. And that was the situations as it was during those times. The relationship didn't last too long. It was literally only a week after the tree situation that we had met and then dated, and a few months went by. So that was as it was, and life went on. So I've dealt with quite a few situations that finding something to laugh at, well, sometimes there's stuff to laugh at. And there are other times of stuff where it's a situation that you can smile. And then there are other situations that you deal with. And you do the best to persevere and overcome certain types of situations for betterment. And so I've done the best that I could, despite quite a few needless problems from those types of situations, because I've known what would be best for myself instead and in comparison. So life is as it is. Nonetheless, the ways that went regarding Illinois and New Jersey and all those factors, well, what would be important regarding this lecture in reference to my journal blog, The Ornery PSA, on my website, www.susanmealing.com, in regards of quite a few things in my fact books to consider. Maybe even in some of the metaphors regarding preventing failure. So, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel and like my official YouTube videos. If you're going to leave a comment, make sure to have etiquette and respect. Share my official YouTube links and go to my website, www.susanmealing.com. Today is the 19th of May, 2022. And so it's time to remember. Wake up. Because there is a point regarding, so I didn't have a confirmation graduation party. In one of the latter classes, Lauren Fucko had brought in a VHS of The Wizard of Oz and had put in a specific point in time of the VHS. And she asked if I could see something, which I did. And it was after, in reference to an issue regarding Dennis, whatever his name was, and not putting the H in that particular spiritual word. And so, despite the knowledge as to the basement in Old Tenet Presbyterian Church, and then there was already the situations regarding the music. And so I had noticed, and those individuals were a part of the photography class. When it was learned that the elective I chose as to the second one was not anything with anybody else, they made whatever choices they made. They didn't know anything about my particular training because that would require them to have believed me as a child and as a teenager by that point. So I have been working on my Medal of Honor art project for a while, a few years at this point. And so I gave these warnings to Old Tenet Presbyterian Church as to what would occur if they didn't heed my warnings. I saw the spirits as I saw them, and they made their opinions known. And so fast forward to other situations, and as time went onward. So while, yes, I did learn how the history of the stones and types through my gravestone rubbing class, that's what I learned, the history. The rubbing of the marker and how to accomplish certain things, I learned that in my elective class. The individual and I spoke for hours because I had questions in regards of, and we went over different symbols as to the history. However, the historical and spiritual rubbings, I learned that elsewhere. So, in my journal blog, The Ornery PSA, and in the Modern Day book, which you can find on my website, www.susanmealing.com, with the link. I've been honest about that, among a few other situations. And while some people might think certain things are a funny joke, there are others who don't. And so it's a good thing I know how to distinguish. It's a good thing I know certain factors of certain important symbols to actually pay attention to. Because it's the spirit of the Medal of Honor. So, my favorite childhood movie, aside from certain whatevers, is because I could only see certain ones regarding G-rated. My favorite movie as a child, here's a joke. Ready? My favorite childhood movie that my son and my daughter and I would watch together and enjoy is Nightmare Before Christmas. Is that funny for this lecture? And so, is as it is. I actually can make a few other jokes, though I'm fairly certain I don't really have to. They have been as they've been regarding. So, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to my official YouTube channel. Like my official YouTube videos and share the links to my official YouTube videos. If you're going to leave a comment, do have etiquette and respect and go to my website www.susanmealing.com, also known as www.ladydorybell.com, which then there's that because of course those references is to that pop culture situation comparison. So, but certain things they're important, you know. Family, it's important. And my son and my daughter, my family. May 19, 2022.